Ready? Okay. All right. So we're talking about a lesson that you did in ELA where you had the students practice their timeline. Tell me more about the lesson that you did.
So we did our timeline on some historical figures that we've been talking about. Tomachichi, Mary Musgroves, and James Oglethorpe. So for my class, for my I shared a YouTube video that basically showed the relations between Tomachichi, James, and Mary. So how Tomachichi came in, and then how he had a relationship with James Oglethorpe, and then how Mary basically was like their translator, and showed them like peace and friendship, and how they all helped shape Georgia as it was forming its colony or whatever.
Okay.
So I showed them that, and then after that we kind of did like a timeline on the board. I kind of just further discussed it, had them like kind of engage with me, tell me what they observed in the video.
Okay.
And then afterwards we did like a you-do lesson where I just kind of gave them some like little cards.
Okay.
And then they just put we spoke about our different historical figures. So we went into Martin Luther King, and then they did a cutout, and then they just posted them. And so yeah, that's pretty much how the lesson went with that.
All right, so if you look at your class as a whole, 10 being the perfect class and 1 being the opposite, what would you rate it in your lesson?
For this lesson, maybe like a 6.
Okay.
All
right.
6.
A 6, that's pretty good. So why wasn't it a 1? Like, what do you think what do you think, could have been better?
It wasn't a 10. I'll start with why it wasn't a 10.
Okay.
It wasn't a 10 because, of course I had some students who weren't paying attention, or who weren't fully engaged because they're just watching a video. You know what I mean? So like it doesn't really require you to be like hands-on or anything like that.
Okay.
So and it wasn't a 1 because I had, students who weren't watching, and then we have been practicing like, if you're watching something, kind of ask yourself questions as you're watching the video. So I did have some students that were doing that. So when it was time to do our we do and our you do, they were able to grasp the concept and stuff like that. So I feel like, for the most part, most of them did okay, but I did have a few that were kind of like wandering eyes and stuff like that. So
okay. So what do you feel like would make it closer to a 10? Like,
if I had maybe like an I do where it was more engaging, or something that was more fun, something that they can do, or maybe like a you do lesson that was kind of having more technology,
interactive,
and stuff like that.
Where they were actually able to use the technology rather than just seeing it from a distance.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So how confident are you, like, when you're doing these lessons, how confident are you that you are able to like assess where they are with the timeline that they were doing from the video that they were watching, and at the end result of the lesson, like, how do you feel like you are assessing, like, how well they grasped onto it, how well they knew it?
Well, how comfortable? I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with it. And when I'm going around, I'll do like an academic monitoring thing. So I'll do checks or circle. So I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with it, I guess. So
do you feel like you know how well they're doing when you like in getting what you teach them? Like, do you feel like they are mastering it like as soon as you teach it, or do you feel like sometimes it takes some time, like if they they had more practice?
Sometimes it does take more time. So I know with my class, one day of something they're not going to master it.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
It usually takes more time and more activities for them to finally be able to master what they're doing, so. And
then when you change the way you're engaging them,
right,
that
when it's more interactive, I do see more of them mastering stuff.
Okay. So. Yeah, no, that's perfect. So from this lesson, it seems like it went pretty well. It seems like, do you feel like they enjoyed what they were doing? Like, do you feel like, they enjoy watching the videos, or do you think, they would enjoy?
I think they do enjoy the videos, but sometimes I know that if I'm, how do I make this make sense? If I'm showing them multiple videos like every day of the week,
Yeah.
they get bored of that. You know what I mean?
they
Because
do.
they like to be hands on
Interactive.
with stuff and be interactive. So
Yeah.
I feel like I could implement some more interactive stuff.
Okay, so lead towards more interactive.
Right.
So where do we want to get the kids is kind of what we want to move to. So we want to create a goal that can help the kids become more engaged, and we kind of want to see a change. So what we want to do is we want to implement a kind of a new strategy that's going to help them change and become more engaged, like you're saying. So we want to figure out how can we measure a change with the students. So we want to increase engagement.
Yes.
So how can we measure? How can we measure a change with the kids and you as as their teacher to kind of get a better sense that they are engaged and that they are being more interactive with the lessons, and using technology in their lessons.
So that would be like maybe 70% of the class masters.
Okay.
The you-do lesson.
Okay.
After implementing like a more interactive, I do, I guess.
Okay. So we want to kind of see, at least over half the class, around 70%, master the content. So what do you feel like mastering looks like?
Like getting the majority of the answers right?
Yeah. So if we're using technology, and you're doing so
if I'm having them record themselves on like Flipgrid or something like that, they would be able to tell me, like, give me a clear answer to the questions that I'm asking them.
Okay. Is Flipgrid something you've ever used before, or do you just?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so you've heard of it. So yes, that is definitely a strategy that we could definitely use to get to that goal of those students being more engaged. And I think when they use technology, like you're saying, when they're from watching on video, they might be engaged for the first few minutes. But like you're saying, when they are more hands-on and they're looking and they're navigating their Chromebooks and they're kind of applying it to what they're learning, that definitely helps engagement. So I think that would be a great goal.
Okay.
The other thing would be what that would look like for you as as a teacher. Do you feel like that's something we could implement for every lesson, or do you feel like maybe once or twice a week, or?
I would say twice a week.
Okay.
Having like some sort of interactive lesson.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, kind of a couple times having that interactive piece where they're using that technology tool to help them become more engaged in what they're doing. That definitely helps. I've seen kids, and they love technology these days. They're always up for some sort of game or some sort of thing that they can do to help them become more interactive, and that would definitely be a great goal. So let me see what else. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are gonna pick a technology tool, and we're going to work on that technology tool of implementing it into your classroom. So the first step would be to get kids familiar with what the technology tool is. So just comfortable navigating it, and then you comfortable navigating it as well. So how to use the technology tool, what kind of assignments you can do with it, and then from there kind of teaching the kids how to navigate it, and then then from there, kind of creating the website, or not the website, that creating the assignment for them to complete. So I think that's what we're gonna kind of move into next. So I am good with working on Flipgrid if you're good with that. I think that would be something great. That would be kind of a way to introduce technology to your students, because if they're not as familiar with the technology tools and using them and navigating them, Flipgrid is a great tool to kind of start, because they're sort of just going on and recording and talking about the content that they're working with. That's what I love about it, and they love it, and it's super easy for them to do. So that's going to be our next step towards hitting our goal. So our next session, I'll kind of show you and how to navigate it, and then we'll talk about how you want me to help implement and move forward with using this tool in your classroom. Okay.